We've had this issue, if I can sort of term it, the fog of Brexit has been with us for a while, and it looks like it's settling in for a bit. The principal impact of that has been on business investment. If I stretch it back to before the referendum to today, the level of business investment, best as we can tell, is about 20 percentage points lower than it otherwise would have been without this uncertainty.
Do you attribute all of that 20% to the Brexit?
Yes. I mean, I'll be blunt about it, yes. I could give you a higher number if I adjusted for the fact that up until very recently, the global economy has been in much better shape than we had thought it would have been. If you follow all that, would have been a few years ago. And on top of that, the financial sector is in very good shape. The cost of capital is very low. Balance sheets are in good position. The labor market is increasingly tight. Wages are going up. All the conditions for an investment boom are in place, except for one factor.
About 8 months ago, you said that the risk of no-deal Brexit, which most people think is still on the cards as a possibility, you said that that was uncomfortably high for you. How would you characterise that risk as you sit in this chair today?
Well, that was back in August. It felt uncomfortably high then. It unfortunately proved accurate. I would say it's alarmingly high now. We're in a situation where the expressed will of Parliament is for some form of deal. So, to put it in the double negative, as they've expressed it, Parliament is against no deal. The government, as expressed by the Prime Minister, is against no deal. The European Union is against no deal. And yet, it is a possibility. It is the default option. And so no deal would happen, as we sit here today, would happen by accident. It would happen suddenly. There would be no transition, what we have just discussed. You have a series, and the country.
That's what you call a disorderly no-deal.
That is a disorder. I mean, that by definition, it is accidental disorderly Brexit. Now, businesses have been working since and increasingly in recent months to do what they can to prepare for that. And more of them have put in place their contingency plans. We would say about 3/4 of businesses are in that position today.
But putting your plans in place doesn't necessarily mean you're prepared, does it?
Well, it means you're as prepared as you can be. But we also know that the infrastructure, again, government has made real progress here, but again, the port infrastructure isn't fully there. The customs infrastructure isn't there. In fact, because it's not there, what the government is going to do is, there's a fancy acronym for it, TSPs, but effectively not check goods as they come through the border in the initial months to help mitigate the effects of that. But this is all about reducing the severity of an economic shock. What we can show, what we have shown, and what we could show if, in the event, if there were a no-deal Brexit, is that the financial system is ready. We have had the system build up their capital. Credit to the banks for doing this. We've had them build up liquidity. We have access to all these other mechanisms that can ensure that the financial system does its job, which is to provide mortgages to people watching if they need them, a loan if they've got a good business idea, keeps their money safe if it's safe with them. And that is why we have done what we have done.
But there is a limit, though, isn't there, to the Bank of England's toolkit? You can help very much on the demand side of the economy.
Yes.
You can try and put money back into the economy. You can try and get confidence going again. What you can't help with is a big supply shock, can you? And so, and when I say that, it sounds like economic jargon, but you know what I mean.
Well,
it means people not getting medicines. It means lorries on the M25. What can you do about that?
Well, that's exactly right. What we can't do is we can't get a single more lorry through the port of Dover. Others can help to affect that, but we can't. And nor can we fundamentally change the economics of a business in Scotland that sells to the European Union at present on a tariff-free basis, where its product standard is instantly recognized, so it has frictionless trade with Europe. If overnight it has to pay a large tariff on those goods, which it will, because Europe will flip to WTO, and forget the fiction that won't happen.
Article 24.
Absolute nonsense. Okay, it needs to be called out.
It's been called the secret weapon by Brexiteers.
Well, I would point out that they might want to become better acquainted with the Secretary of State for Trade, who in Parliament has made the point, which is exactly right, which is that it cannot apply unless both parties agree, and secondly, unless you're moving towards, guess what? A customs union, which I don't think has been the objective there. So some of these issues need to just be taken off the table and focusing on the reality of the trading relationship. Brexit, for a period of time in the short term, will be a hit to supply. In the long term, we will see, right? In the long term, it's a question and of great faith in this about the ingenuity of the British people, what new trading relationships we would strike, what investment would be put in place. But in the short term, it's first and foremost a supply hit, and the Bank of England can do nothing about that. We have no tools for that.
So does that worry you?
It worries me because it worries me to the extent to which it's a very unusual situation, and it worries me to the extent to which if people were to assume that the bank can magically take care of this issue, and we will do everything we can to support the economy, but since we can't support supply, there is a limit to what we can do.